How crucial was dropshipping in your journey?
Very crucial, because without the dropshipping experience, I would have never hired the freelancer and would have never went to like the business model that I'm doing now.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the EMS podcast. Today with a very, very special guest, a guest that plays with the big boys, like Alex Hormozy or Davey Fogarty. He has a lot of inspirational content on his social media, especially on his YouTube channel. And I have to say, like, he's been a big inspiration to me too now in the last 6 to 12 months. And I'm very, very happy to have him here on our podcast. And thank you for your time, Carl. And can you introduce yourself for the people who don't know you yet?
For sure. Thank you so much for the invite, brother, and the great introduction. I'm super excited for this podcast. To me, I feel like you already did a pretty good introduction. My name is Carl. I'm 25 years old. I've been in like online marketing, e-commerce and everything for almost a decade now. I started doing it when I was 16. Started like buying and reselling Yeezys, Supreme, any like limited sneakers or clothing I could get my hand on, and then I would resell and flip them on like eBay or other platforms. So that's how I got started. And for the past couple of years, I've just been always fascinated about online marketing and everything, just because it blew my mind that you can make money online without having to leave your room, without having to get outside, just from literally like your bedroom, right? That always fascinated me, and I always had like big ambitions to become an entrepreneur. And yeah, I'm on this journey now, and has been a super exciting journey with a lot of ups and downs. But yeah, I'm really, really passionate about this. And over the past years, I've just focused on building a service-based business where we work together with a lot of big names in the industry, and we help them build their funnels, build their landing pages, and do conversion optimization for them, basically. And yeah, that's what I'm focusing on now.
Amazing. And one thing we have in common is we both graduated from university studying business administration. And why didn't you just choose like a 9-to-5 job to get more experience, like the normal route that every bachelor like graduate takes? Why did you decide like immediately to start a business?
Good question. So over the years, I've always experimented with like different business models. So the first thing I did was like the reselling. Then I tried out a bunch of stuff. In Germany, you have this thing called like a salesman for like insurances, policies, and all that stuff. I did Amazon FBA. I did dropshipping and everything. And I only studied to buy some time, basically, right? So when I was 18, I was done with high school. I didn't know what to do, wanted to become an entrepreneur. So I went and did a year abroad in New Zealand, right? And then I came back and I was like, okay, I still want to become an entrepreneur. Like, how do I do this now? And then I just started like my bachelor to buy some time, because I knew it would give me like 3 years where I basically have a bunch of time. And then I started doing the Amazon FBA and Shopify dropshipping alongside with that. And like at the half point of my bachelor, I met my now business partner, Lars, right? So back then he was a freelancer for conversion optimization, for copywriting, UX, UI design and everything. And I basically hired him to do CRO for my store that I was running back then, right? So that's how I met him. And then I was fascinated by this model of freelancing and also from conversion optimization, because it's like the service itself, it sounds like a buzzword, but basically what it is, it's applying the understanding of psychology and especially consumer psychology, in the sense of you have to understand how the brain works and how you can influence that. Right? We don't do anything else with CRO. The only thing we do is look at a target audience, get a good understanding of how they think, and then see how we can influence their behavior and get them to buy the product we want, right? And for me, always being fascinated with like online marketing, selling products online, and psychology, CRO was basically combining everything that I found interesting. Hence, I then moved from running like the Amazon FBA and dropshipping business to the freelancing business. And then I was basically 1.5 years in the freelancing business when I finished my bachelor. And then it was a no-brainer to go from that into running it full time, right? Because I was always already making a solid amount of money where I could live from. And that's why I didn't move into like a regular 9 to 5 or anything. I just thought, okay, let's go. I'm young, I'm hungry. Like when is the time, if not now?
Amazing. So what happened exactly in the moment where Lars came into your life? Like how did you get the knowledge of CRO, and how did you get fascinated about it? And now you're one of the best in the world doing that.
It's a good question. So for me, psychology always played a big role. I was always a big fan of like personal development and everything. So when I was like 16, 17, I kind of kickstarted everything with like binging Tony Robbins, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, and then also in Germany and from Switzerland, from where you're at, there was this like a group of fitness influencers, right? Like Misha Janicek, Patrick Reiser, all of these guys. And I basically watched like all of these big Americans and then like this group of German/Swiss entrepreneurs. And they were all pretty deep in like personal development, mindset, psychology, and evolving, right? Evolving as a person, evolving as a character, setting goals, and then like really hardcore working towards those goals. So I just obsessed with psychology ever since I was 16, 17, right? I would read dozens of books. I would listen to dozens of podcasts, watch like dozens of seminars and videos. But I always just used it in like a private context. I always just used it for myself, for personal development, for the relationships I had with other people, and all of that stuff, right? But only with this like private point of view. And then what happened basically is that Lars showed me how I could use this understanding of psychology in business. And that's why I explained it 2 minutes ago, that all you do, or like 90% of the stuff you do in marketing and e-commerce, is like really based on psychology and understanding of how people work, or in the bigger context, how does a market work, right? Like how do markets behave? What is a trend in a market, or how does like a big audience behave? Right. And we as marketers, we play with that, right? We play with beliefs, we play with pain points, we play with fears and all of that to get people to take an action. But that's all based on this understanding of how do people work, right? So when I met Lars, for me, it like all came together, like marketing, psychology, and everything, and like this thing called conversion rate optimization. So I was super, super fascinated by it. And then I basically I had like a long way of already learning about it, if that makes sense, even though I never applied it to CRO, right? And then with Lars, over the course of like 2 years, I just like specifically learned how to do it for like online stores by like trial and error, and by actually executing it.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
How crucial was dropshipping in your journey? Because in my opinion, for example, in my journey, I started learning dropshipping, and then I built my own brand, and then I was also able to build my agency here in Switzerland and also do mentoring, teach other people. So it was like a crucial part of me generating multiple sources of income. How crucial, like how was your dropshipping experience, and how crucial was it in your journey?
Very crucial, because without the dropshipping experience, I would have never hired the freelancer and would have never went to like the business model that I'm doing now. But also dropshipping for me was like the first like really serious business model, if that makes sense. I was running everything with like a partner of mine. We had an actual company and everything, right? In comparison to me doing reselling just by myself with like 16 with the credit card of my parents and not being able to do much, right? I still made a good amount of money for like a 16-year-old, but the drop shipping and the Amazon FBA business was like the first real business that we did consistently over like 2 to 3 years, right? With like a lot of focus, and also treated as a real business, right? In terms of like how we would do branding, social media, operations, logistics, all of that, right? And for me, I'm a big believer in doing everything yourself before you delegate it or before you go out of that, just so you can understand the ins and out. Right? If you would have started with an agency, but you would have never done like a drop shipping or brand before, you wouldn't really know like what it is, right? Like you wouldn't understand the pain that people are going through, like packaging orders in their bedroom, or like drop shipping, or like being banned on PayPal, or having other issues, or having a DMCA or whatnot, right? So I really, really like the experience I made with drop shipping, and it played a big part in my journey.
Amazing. Do you agree with the sentence that every future big brand, like big e-commerce brand owner, should start with dropshipping to get the necessary skills?
For me nowadays, dropshipping is just the logistics model. So dropshipping for me is the logistics model and a certain mindset, if that makes sense. Right.
Mhm.
I think dropshipping is great to start as a business model just because you don't need that much capital, right? You don't need to buy stock before or something. You can just like start validating products or validate a marketing hypothesis. I wouldn't necessarily say that like every big brand owner has to do drop shipping and then will become a brand owner.
Mhm.
I think drop shipping is great in the beginning, especially if you don't have like rich parents
Mhm.
or like hundreds of thousands of dollars to start out, to like just get started. And then on the way, basically, let's say you've sold like a couple hundred or thousand products, then like slowly turn into a brand and then build on that. But in the early stages, yes, I would say like drop shipping is a great way to get started.
Now, with all the experience that you have gathered in the last couple of years, if you were to start dropshipping today, what would you do?
I would hyper obsess with marketing.
Okay.
Back when I did it like 4 or 5 years ago, I was obsessing with the product and smaller details that don't play like such a big factor in the overall equation of business success, like packaging, like how we shipped out the packages, like just like small stuff, right? If I would do it again now, I would put 90% of my time in marketing and then 10% in like the operations, fulfillment, and product itself. So I would just hyper obsessed with like how to do creatives, how to do media buying, how to sell the product, or how to get a lot of people to buy the product, and not so much like every single pixel has to be perfect in the branding. It has to come perfect, be perfectly shipped, like a nice packaging to the customers, right? I would just first focus on scaling and then focus on like making the whole customer journey and experience perfect.
What does that mean? Like, because now our audience are more beginners. Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, imagine you have like someone listening now. They used the spy tool to find the product. They saw that a competitor is running a lot of ads for it, and they know, wow, I'm going to pick that product because someone else is already doing good with it. Most people at this point would just take the exact same creative, for example, and run it on their own business manager. What would you do different?
I mean, I know the dropshipping space. I know that's the way that a lot of people do it, especially in the beginning. I think you can do it, and I think you can also see initial traction and success if you just like completely rip everything. But
Yeah.
then, as soon as possible, you should start doing your own marketing to differentiate yourself from the market. Because let's say if there's like one experienced dropshipper or one good brand that's crushing it, and then like hundreds of people copy and paste exactly what they are doing, then it's going to stop working. So I would do that in the beginning, and then as quickly as possible try to find unique ways of selling the product. So like over obsess with the product, and then with like different ways of selling the product to the same audience, because
Yeah.
that's like I think that's the big leap that you have to make as a dropshipper in the beginning, is to just become really good in taking a random product and selling it, right? Like that should be your main like training ground in the beginning, is take like 10, 20, 30 products and just think of ways of selling them. Like how would you sell, I don't know, sunglasses? How would you sell like a jacket? How would you sell a watch, like a smartwatch? How would you sell skincare, right? Just like take a lot of products, and then for each product find like 5 or 10 different ways of selling the same product. I think like a lot of people, they just, if they have a product, they always want to sell it with the same way, if that makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, let's say I have a smartwatch, then like instantly I would have 10 ideas of how to sell it. And maybe like if they have a smartwatch, they would just say, this smartwatch is great to read the time, right? And then they would do 100 video creators where people read the time from the smartwatch, right? But that's only one way. Second way would be like the smartwatch helps you sleep better, or like track your performance, or become a better athlete, or become a better entrepreneur, right? Like there's so many different ways and so many different product benefits that you could use to sell the product. And that's just what you have to become great at, right? Like taking one product and then selling it in a lot of different ways to the same audience. And that's like the one big thing. Second big thing is become creative and innovative, because that's circling back to the first point that I make. If you just copy and paste what others are doing, you're always 2-3 steps behind. And what you want to be able to do one day is you want to be the leader and always like innovate and create new concepts, right? Because then you have more control of your outcome, right? Because you're always ahead of the market. Like I execute that myself too. I look at content creation, I look at videos or something like that, and I'm like, what can I do to create content that's not that easy to replicate, or that's not that easy to just copy and paste, right? And that's how you have to think about selling your product.
How can I develop those skills, like to think about different ways of selling a product? You always mention a book, Breakthrough Advertising. Is this like a great way to start, or what would you recommend me, for example, if I want to develop the skills that you just mentioned?
Breakthrough Advertising is a great book to get the theory in. I'm a big believer in getting a lot of reps in, right? Like do it over and over and over and over again. Like one great task could be take 10 different products, and for these 10 different products, find 3 audiences you could sell the same product to. And then for each audience, find like 5 ways of selling the product to that audience. And then you have 150 reps in 10 products to 3 audiences each with 5 different ways each, right? And then you already have like 150 ways in. And you will see that maybe it's like difficult in the beginning for the first 2, 3, 4 products, but then you become better and better and better. So a great way of doing that is look at a product, write down all of the features a product has, and then convert those features into benefits, and then convert those benefits into ways of selling the product. So example given, smartwatch. Write down all of the features of a smartwatch, right? A smartwatch, it is black. It has an aluminum case. It has like a rubber band. It weighs 200 grams. It has like 100 functionalities. It has a iOS parability. It tracks your heart BPM, right? Like just write down all of the product features that it does, and then convert each feature into a benefit for the customer. This product tracks your heart BPM, so you can optimize your sleep and performance. This product weighs 200 grams, so it's super easy to wear in your day-to-day. This product has a rubber band flex, so it's super comfortable on your wrist, and you will not even feel wearing it, etc. Right? So that's how you want to go through it. And this is like a great task that everyone listening can just do. Like pick 10 products, write down all of the product features for every product, write down all of the benefits, think about 3 different audiences: smartwatch for like an entrepreneur, smartwatch for an athlete, and smartwatch for a grandpa. And then think of how you can use those product benefits to sell the product to that. And like doing that over and over again, I've done this hundreds of times just because I had also so many consulting calls, right? And different like executions and like different products that we had to sell, that at some point you can just do it automatically, just like I did right now. You could give me any product and I could just do it because I've done it so many times, right? And that's what you want to do. Like you want to get a lot of execution in, and then your brain at some point can automatically do that for certain products.
Amazing. Now I want to make the switch to this. That's like, for those who haven't seen it, I'll be linking the video in the description below. This is how Carl made 5 million by 25. And one question I want to ask you here that you already answered in the video is, how do you make a lot of money? Now, because that's all super relevant to dropshipping, because that helps us also how to choose products. So Carl, how do we make a lot of money?
Great question. So that's one of the questions I asked myself in the beginning of my journey. I was looking at like different career paths. I was looking at like different people, and I always thought, okay, why is like somebody making 10 euros an hour? Why is another person making $100 an hour? And why is another person making a couple of $1,000s an hour? Right? And I was like, well, like, what's the difference? The way that I like to think about it personally, and there's probably a lot of different frameworks out there, but the way that I like to think about making money is that pretty similar to how Elon Musk thinks about it, is that you're always being paid in relation to the value that you create, right? And that's like a really great mental framework you can use. What Elon Musk likes to say is you're always being paid in relation to the magnitude of problems you solve, right? So how do you make a lot of money? Well, you have to think about how can I create a lot of value, meaning how can I create a big problem? How can I solve a big problem? That's like the first thing that you have to go through. And then the second thing that you have to go through once you solve that is how can I solve this big problem for as many people as possible, right? And that's why if you think about it, that's why Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are so rich, because they solve such a big problem, right? Like what does Elon Musk do? He basically creates like electronic mobility for like millions of people, or he's working on space travel, right? And like big things like that, or he's working on a robot that's going to transform like the household. What does Jeff Bezos do? He enables millions, if not a billion of people to comfortably buy products from home or like watch videos from home, right? It's like they solve such a big problem for so many people, hence they make a fuck ton of money. And that's how you have to think about it. And how to apply that to dropshipping specifically is if you look for a product, always think about what problem is this going to solve for my customer, and is it a big problem that they have in their lives, right? That's also why, for example, supplement or beauty products are so amazing, because they solve such a big problem. If my customer is overweight and I'm going to help him lose 20 pounds of fat in like 3 months with the supplements that I sell to him, that's going to be worth a lot of money for him, right? Because that means that I completely change his life and he is so much better off with the product. And that's how you have to think about it, right? Like, how can I find a product, or how can I create a product that solves a huge problem or creates a huge value for a big amount of people? And that's how to make a lot of money. That's what I went through in the video.
How did you implement that into your life? Like, what problems are you solving now for companies? So if we take the switch now to your agency, like, so people understand what you do exactly.
Yeah. So to break it down to one sentence, we make big e-commerce brands a lot of money, and we take a fraction of that as compensation. What that means in terms of problem solving / value creation. If I think about we create a lot of value, then I think about, let's say, I don't know, a big e-commerce brand comes to work with us, right? They do 20 million a year. And over the span of 12 months, we get them another 5 million in revenue on top of what they've already been doing, just because we optimize the website, we build new landing pages, we create a better funnel, whatever, right? Meaning the value we create is then 5 million. So that's a pretty big value for this company. And then from the 5 million, we, for example, take 200, 300K, which in relation to the 5 million is not a lot of money, right? It's like 1/10, 1/15. If I would tell you like, hey, Mo, give me $1, I will give you 10 back. You would be like, yeah, take as many dollars as you want, right? In terms of problems we solve, for those big brands that we work with, let's say it's a company that's doing 20 million in revenue a year. They spend a lot of money on ads, right? They probably spend like 200, 300, 500K a month for their ads. And the problem that they have is at some point, if they scale, they are going to hit like a glass ceiling, right? For those who have already run products, they know that at some point, if they scale, like the ROAS turns down, right? If you increase ad spend, your efficiency and ad ROI is slowly going to decrease, right? So what we do is we help them have higher conversion rates and a higher average order value on their Shopify store, meaning we increase their main KPIs on their website, which leads to an increased ROAS, right? So they can then spend more money on ads and make more money. So that's basically how this concept applies to us. So we have a service that helps the brands that we work with make more money and get a higher ROAS. And then we charge like 1/10, 1/15 of the value that we create for them. And then it's a pretty great no-brainer for all of the parties involved, right? Because everyone makes money, and for everyone, it's a good business case. So yeah, that's how we apply it in the agency.
Amazing. Do you have like a Discord channel or a school community where people who already had experience with dropshipping or e-com can come and, for example, learn the skills from you, or don't you offer that yet?
So we have a school community. I think it's like 3,000 people or something in there. It's called Ecom Messiah. I basically took like all of the resources I have and built like somewhat of a course where I put them in like different topics. So you can either check that out or go to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is always up to date with the stuff that we do for the big brands.
Amazing. Yeah, why is that interesting? Because I think as soon as like a beginner dropshipping starts to see some great results and they reach the next level and they start sharing their results and their progress, companies reach out to people. So that happened to me too. Like companies reach out to you and then ask you for your help. And I think the help that they need is exactly what the stuff that you offer. So that's why it's a good shout if you have a look at the Discord or the school community that you have. Yeah. Amazing. I'm coming to my last questions. What are your goals now for the next 1 to 2 years? What do you want to achieve?
That's a big question. We have been pretty fortunate with like the quick growth we saw with our business over the past couple of years. So in Germany, we became the biggest agency for the service that we do. The next goal is to replicate that internationally. So to become the biggest conversion optimization agency for e-commerce brands in the international space. We've always had like a pretty high barrier to entry, which was you have to do 10 million a year as an e-commerce brand to be able to work with us. And what we want to achieve over the next 2 years is be able to go from like a really boutique agency and a boutique solution to like a more wider range of services and information that we can give to like a bigger audience, right? Because you can imagine based on like the YouTube channel and everything, like we get a lot of inquiries and we basically have to say no to like 95% of them just because we don't have that many spots, right? Being boutique. So that's like we are working on a couple of solutions for that, and then we want to use those solutions to basically become like the biggest name internationally and the biggest player in the space of conversion optimization.
Amazing. No, best of luck, and you'll surely make that. And now, if you have one last advice to a beginner dropshipper that was listening to us now for the last 30 minutes, what advice would you give them?
Everything happens up here. All of the success you're going to have is a result of what you do with your mind and what you believe is possible. I have it in the video too that you mentioned that I believe that at least 90% of the success you're going to have in business is based on your mindset and 10% on your actual skill set and execution. I'm such a big believer in you can achieve anything you put your mind to, right? Just because I have repeatedly proven this to myself and seen it in the journey of my friends or other people that are following this space. And if you think you can achieve something, you will achieve it. If you have doubts or anxiety or uncertainties that you will achieve something, then you're not going to achieve it. You have to believe in it yourself before anyone else is going to believe in that. And that's the best advice that I can end this podcast with.
Amazing. Thank you very, very much for your time. I hope that there will be a second meeting where we can also provide more value to our students. And yeah, thank you for taking the time. And I wish you a very nice day, Carl.
Thanks so much, brother. It was a pleasure.